got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. Cocaine.
What is going on, guys? For those of you who don't know, my name is Cordrez Burnett. I am the owner, founder, CEO, whatever title you want to give me for Beloved Serenity Clothing / movement. In the past, I know I've simplified Beloved Serenity to be two things. That's peace and love. Or I've simplified it to two phrases: for the love of peace or peace over time. And what I want to get into for this video is the backstory, background, or whatever you want to call it, for me going to my place of peace and my place of love. Pretty much what is Beloved Serenity's full story. So just to jump right into it, disclaimer, I know we all go through things. We all have bad moments. We go through bad situations. We deal with those situations differently. I'm not downplaying anybody's situation, because your situation may be bigger than the situation that I'm about to describe. I'm not downplaying my situation either. This is what I went through, how I got through it, and how Beloved Serenity started. As I said, we all go through things. This just happens to be the point that altered my thinking, the way I navigate through life. So just right off the bat, the way that I combat or cope with bad relationships, and this is toxic, this is a bad cycle to be in, but if I had gone through a breakup, I would go through the process of getting into another relationship in order to cope with the bad breakup that I had just endured. So that's just to give you a idea of where my mind was at the time. So fast forward, why this all started. 2016, early part of 2016. I want to say the summer 2016, so somewhere between May and August. I went through a bad relationship, or bad breakup from a relationship that I had been in for, I want to say, on and off 5 years or so. 4 to 5 years, somewhere around there. Anyway, went through this phase where we had just broken up, and I was trying to get my significant other back. I was in a space of begging, pleading, crying. Yes, I am still human. I cry, I have emotions. Even though I'm a man, I still have normal emotions. I was crying, begging, and pleading to get this person back in my life, and they weren't budging. So I had to go through that. Come around to, I want to say October, December, pretty much end of 2016, early part of 2017. Finally got into a place where I was like, you know what? It's not gonna happen. No matter what I do, what I say, how hard I try to pursue it, this person is not coming back. They ain't falling back into the trap. So at the time, I will say I'm toxic. It probably wouldn't have worked. It probably wasn't destined. It wasn't even destined to work that way. But and that's another one of my beliefs. It wasn't destined to work that way. So went through this phase. I keep saying phrase, but phase where I had to learn to be alone. I had to learn with being on my own. And that's not always a bad thing. I know we all look at, oh, well, you're alone, you ain't got nobody and all that. We look at that as a bad thing, but that's not always a bad thing. And here's why. I'm about to explain this all to you. So during the time where I'm not in a relationship, I had the time to focus on myself. And again, as men, we don't use these types of statements, and we don't use this kind of language where we say we're getting to know ourselves again, we're loving ourselves again. You normally only hear women say this, but this is exactly what happened in my life. I was in a time where I was able to focus on my life as a whole. I was able to focus on what I liked, what I didn't like, what I was attracted to, what I wasn't attracted to, the type of personalities I like, what type of personalities I didn't like, the kinds of things that I wanted from a significant other. I was able to, I didn't make this list physically, but I was able to make a list in my head of what I wanted, what I didn't want, what I was gonna accept, and what I wasn't gonna accept. And that just gave me a standard to live by. So if I'm expecting this from somebody else, then I need to hold myself to that same standard. So that got me to a place where I'm not gonna worry about outside influences. I'm not gonna let that adjust the path that I'm on. I pretty much got into this space where I didn't care what kind of views you had on life. If they didn't align with mine, then we weren't going down the same path together. And at some point, sometimes you have to take that stance on life. Yeah, everybody's not going to agree with what you say, what you do, but you have to have some kind of standards in place to know what you're going to tolerate. If something falls below that standard line, then you need to let them know, or let yourself know, hey, well, this probably ain't the right path for me at this time, and probably never will be unless they elevate to my baseline standard. So again, this breakup, had to go through this whole period of getting to know myself, getting to love myself, and that sparked something in me where I was like, you know what? I need something where I could tell more people about this and share with them my journey. Now, take this into consideration. I'm not a big talker. I'm really an introvert. I'm able to do this through video, and I am getting a little bit more comfortable as I've made videos over time, but I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people face to face, but I'm able to get my point across. But what I wanted Beloved Serenity to be was, it doesn't even have to be all clothing, just a platform for people to be like, you know what? I've been through something similar to that, or I've had a situation that broke me to the core where I had to find myself. And now I'm realizing that love, any type of love, begins with myself first. And that's the kind of space I was in. Had to realize that in order for me to love somebody completely, in order for me to have a successful relationship, I had to love myself first. Because if you don't love yourself, then how can somebody else love you? If you don't love what's broken with you and what you feel is wrong with you, how can somebody else love those same qualities? Because you're insecure about what's going on with you, that you try to push that on everybody else. Oh, you don't love me because of this, or you see these as my flaws and all of this, blah, blah, blah. But you guys get what I'm trying to say here. I think the gist of it was, for this whole journey was, it's easy to pinpoint what somebody's done to you, but it's harder, but more rewarding for you to figure out, okay, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong to the point that pushed you to this point where you no longer want to deal with me? I've gotten you to a point where you see me as this toxic individual, and you're trying to enhance your life when I should have been enhancing your life, or felt like I was enhancing your life, but I wasn't doing that. I was causing you more pain than I was happiness. And sometimes we have to take a step back and realize that what we feel like we do as the overall picture may not override the small headaches that we cause other people, or the small destruction, so as to say, that we cause other people. Don't get so focused in, well, I've done this, and this. Well, what did you do wrong? And that's kind of when I was on my peace and love journey, that's kind of what I had to take a step back and realize, okay, I did all of this right, and I did all of this well. Well, it might have been good and well, but there's also a whole nother side of the spectrum. What did I do bad? What could I have improved on to make the situation not get to this point? Because it's the same as what we see on anybody else's social media. We always outline and we stick on the relationship goals, and we're only looking at the beautiful picture. We're not looking at what goes on behind the scenes. We only see, oh, the perfect couple smiling. We don't see the fights they had. We don't see the argument that they just had. We don't see the disagreements they have with something that might have happened last night. Somebody wants you to do one thing and you ended up doing another, and that just caused a whole trickle effect of this whole issue just blowing out of proportion. We don't see those things, and that's kind of the environment that I was in, or the environment that I was in made me realize that there's two sides to every situation. This is common, like we obviously know, common sense, we obviously know there's two sides to every situation, but sometimes we're blinded and don't see the bad side because we're so focused on the good side. So yeah, that's kind of the space I was in. Say 2017, I think it was March or so, March, April. I finally got into a place where I was so far gone on this peace path and my peace and love philosophies I was posting every day on Facebook, that I kind of wanted to share my journey in a different way. We all know that sometimes when you don't have the support from Facebook or support in general, people don't really listen to or tune in to what you have to say if they can't connect with you as an individual. But that's kind of the space I was in with just posting on Facebook. Now I needed something to embody, which is why I came up with this clothing brand, Beloved Cerenity. I needed something to embody my thought process into something that I could give out. And that's kind of where I came with Beloved Cerenity. Why I chose urban streetwear, I just like the look of the clothes. I've always been in love with fashion. Not saying that I've always been a fashionable person, but I've always been in love with the streetwear part of the fashion world. And that's just something I was attracted to. Reason I chose the word beloved was because beloved is pretty much being in love with something. And serenity was another word for peace or harmony. Kind of changed it from a S to a C because I like the way the B and the C lined up, opposed to B and S. BS is short for bullshit, which I didn't want to use. So I used BC, Beloved Cerenity, Serenity spelled with a C. And that's pretty much where Beloved Cerenity came from. So background of Beloved Cerenity, I went through a breakup. I had to learn how to deal with myself first, love myself first, identify all of my own toxic traits before I could push again this bad cycle of blaming everybody else for what happened in my life on just one person. Because a relationship consists of two peoples. The breakup of a relationship still consists of two people. And not one person is always in the wrong. Sometimes that is the case. One person's always in the wrong, but it's not always the case. And I found myself in the midst of all my relationships, I continuously blamed the other person. It's always their fault. She did this, she did this, she did this. And I never kind of took accountability for my own actions. And that's what I'm getting at with Beloved Cerenity. At the end of the day, we have to love ourselves, but we first have to get to a point of understanding ourselves and getting to a point where we acknowledge our own flaws, we correct those flaws, and then we fall in love with who we are as a person.